So Kelle Rhoads, how's it going?
It's really good today. It's better than it's been for a while, actually, which puts me in the perfect mood to do this interview because I had a pretty good morning, and I think I'm having a pretty good afternoon so far.
Oh, that's good. Sunny weather, I take it, down there?
Both. It rained yesterday, which is a rare occurrence. Hadn't rained in about 2 months. It did rain yesterday, and it looks like we're due for a bit more rain. But between the clouds, we're getting some brilliant sunshine coming through. So clear.
Well, that can be good sometimes.
Yeah, we get a lot of it. Doesn't rain too much down here. But today's a very beautiful day in Southern California.
So, Kelle, I've
Yes.
received 2 of your CDs here, Titanic
Right.
Overture and Portraits of Oblivion. Can you
Right.
Can you explain me your visions on recording these piano pieces and all that? And which album do you prefer, first of all?
That's like asking somebody which one of their kids they like the best. That wouldn't have been a hard question in my family because it was obviously Randy. I mean, but in most families, especially a lot of the families that visit us here at the school, of course, the parents will always say that they love their kids equally. That would be a really hard question for me to answer, but I will answer it this way. My favorite piece of music that I've written to date is the lead-off, the first piece of music on the Oblivion album, which is actually a piece of music for modern dance, and it's called Sixth Dance of Death. And since that appears on the Oblivion album, I guess I would have to say that maybe I do prefer that record just a little bit. But I did want to add one thing. I'm just a little bit shy of being halfway through with my third album, and I'm sure so far that I will treasure this record of all 3, the very, very best. And this one that I'm working on right now is called Pride and Profanity, and it should be out in 2010. I'm a little bit shy of being halfway done recording it, and it's being recorded in very different circumstances than the first 2. So the sound will be different. The sound on the Oblivion album is the way that it is because I went for that type of effect. I wanted the sound to sound very old, very scratchy, a little bit distorted, and it's part of the whole package. Once you listen to the record a few times, maybe even 10 times, you completely understand why it has to be that way. And for the Titanic, I recommend anybody who has that record, you really got to listen to it about 30 times. And after that, it all completely makes sense. It's the entire story of the great ship, the tragic, infamous ship, the SS Titanic. And all the music that you hear in it celebrates some part of the ship's short existence.
So were you a fan of the Titanic?
It's very strange when you compose classical music. Sometimes you find the themes, and sometimes they find you. I was not considering writing anything about the Titanic, and it slowly started to come to me, and it slowly pieced together that I have to tell this story in a musical way, without voice, about the ship. I have to chronicleize the existence of this ship. And I don't know why, to this day, that I had such a strong feeling that that's what I needed to do. But it found me, and that has happened in a couple of cases, where instead of the composer writing the song writes the composer.
Now, on the Titanic Overture album art, we see a piano, grand piano, and what's in back of that? Is that the construction of the Titanic in some way?
There doesn't appear any piano on the Titanic record. I think you're probably talking about Portraits of Oblivion. On the Titanic, when you open it up, it's the ship going down. You see the ship sinking, and if you look at the disc,
right?
The disc, you have to look real carefully. The disc is the people on board deciding which people get to go in the lifeboats.
Now you're saying that where the ship is sinking, that's the front cover?
No, the front cover actually is a picture of a famous club in Manchester, England. And when they tore the club down, what happened was the piano was still on the stage. It had not been removed yet.
Really?
So I used the piano untouched, but with the the stage and the venue and the building completely in shreds, getting ready to be completely leveled. Use that for it's like a metaphor for the Titanic.
Right.
In other words, the whole thing has been destroyed, but the piano remains.
Yes.
Kind of like my life, an utter wreck except for the grand piano.
Well, you're still here, and I'm talking to you right now. That could mean we are making a rebirth of your career.
Well, it's hard to say. You never know how it's going to go. I've seen it so many times. I think right now is a good time for me. I'm getting a lot more attention, and even I've done 18 radio interviews since January, and it's not bad considering I don't have a publicist. The people are really actually calling and asking genuinely to know my story and to talk about my music.
One more thing on the Titanic. Did you know?
Sure.
Did you know that the Titanic has burial grounds in Nova Scotia, Canada?
You know what? When I read, of course, after I got these inspirations, and I'm saying, why am I doing this? Why am I writing this thing about the Titanic? What's causing me to do it? I read a book, and I remembered that they did say, since the ship sunk, the closest landmass was Nova Scotia, and that's where the burial grounds were. So I have to say I was aware of that, yes.
Good.
I really don't to this day know why, but if you listen to it about a good 30 times, it becomes so apparent that is the story of the ship. You have the calm, nice chords as the ship is leaving Glasgow on its way to Liverpool to pick up the British passengers, and then you have like a little bit of a warning, like between the first and second movement, you have a little piece of music which is an interlude, and it shows you that something is not going to go right. It's bitter, it's sour. It shows you the thing is bad. Then you have in the second movement, you have the music that goes bum 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 bum. It's very happy, it's very nice. That is the waiters carrying the pheasant under glass and the champagne and everything to the people in the first dining section. The people, the really rich people, the Carnegies, the Mellons, the people that were on that ship that really, really had money. And everybody is having the time of their life. And then, of course, at the end of that, you hear a thing that kind of almost sounds like cables. You hear a thing where the cables start to make a noise. That's where the stacks, the cables that bind the stacks, are starting to break because the ship has run into ice. And then, of course, the third movement is the complete destruction and dissolve of the Titanic.
I'm so impressed. Wow, you've had that all coordinated.
I cannot tell you, and make you see that I'm telling the truth. It really found me. It really was an effort that almost like these people. I'm not saying this because I don't know for sure, but it's almost like somebody said, write a musical piece that describes the Titanic, but not just the Titanic going down. A piece that encapsulates what the ship meant. You know, I did some research after I wrote the music, and it was amazing, the amount of time, the people that it took to build it, and they even had to rebuild the shipyard before they could build the ship. And it was amazing.
You're very knowledgeable in the Titanic. we had to do that stuff too.
I kind of studied it a little bit after I wrote the thing because it piqued my curiosity. I should say, because this is something that's very unique to me, I am not too much influenced by other composers. Obviously, I like the classical era, the grand piano era of the 1830s to the 1860s. I'm heavily into this. But what my inspiration comes from is looking at art. My inspiration for making the music comes from looking at paintings, specifically paintings that come from some of the great Mexican painters of the last 100 years.
Changing albums here, let's go to Portraits of Oblivion for a minute. There's a song entitled Radio Sequence Track. Now, let's talk about that for a minute.
What would you like to know?
Well, there's a very interesting guitar solo in the middle there.
This is the story behind Randy's guitar solo, and it should be known to your audience and the people that are listening to this radio broadcast that, yes, that is Randy Rhoads. And it is the last record that he appears on, not Ozzy Osbourne. He appears on this record, which I put out in 2007. When was the piece recorded? On a hot summer night in 1978. I recorded the piece, and I just did nothing with it at all. I just kept it. And I decided that I want to be associated with my little brother on this project for the end of his discography, the end of the remarkable music that he has put on a disc. This is solid proof that he even had his profound talent back in the days of Quiet Riot. Now, you see, the story was this. They were signed to management that wanted a power pop band, and he had some incredible things that he was not allowed to record and he was not allowed to do because it went against what the management decided was the blueprint for Quiet Riot. They were kind of modeled after the Sweet. So, when I heard this solo, when I heard him doing this solo, I said to myself, this is amazing. He's like blowing the roof off with this blues thing. And I'm asked all the time if he liked blues. So it accomplishes three things. It shows that he did have the spark that was his genius back even in the times of Quiet Riot, even if not always with Quiet Riot. And it is a testament how much he loved the blues because it's just scorching, the solo. It's very impressive. And then the third thing is I get to be linked with my brother. If you look at the cover and the record, there's nothing at all that says who that is.
That's true.
That's because I did not want to do it because somebody could say, oh, that's a good way for him to sell records, huh? No. And when it first came out, I didn't tell anybody. First couple of years, if somebody knew, they were loyal to me and they didn't say anything. Now, enough time has passed, a new record's coming out, I'm not ashamed. I'll admit it. That's my brother. But the reason that I did it is because so we could be linked.
It is one of the most incredible solos I've heard of Randy in a long.
It?
Oh yeah, I rewound that solo probably 20 times when I was driving.
And I give you absolutely my word as a Rhoads, and I can tell you that I swear with everything that I am and with everything that my family means that that is Randy Rhoads.
Oh, I know it is Randy Rhoads.
You can tell it is, can't you?
Well, yes, you can. It's got Randy Rhoads all marked in that solo.
Now, this is one thing that is so interesting and which is a great testament to his enormous talent. There's so many people in the world that can play a guitar.
Right.
Can you imagine a person playing the guitar longer than that because it was recorded in 1978. So it was 7, 8, 9, 10. It was 31 years ago, this August, that he made that solo. Can you imagine hearing a person play the guitar, which millions and millions of people do, 31 years later, and you know right away that it's Randy Rhoads without somebody having to tell you? If that isn't the mark of a true virtuoso, I don't know what is. You're hearing him through like a regular standard setup for a rehearsal hall, and it was recorded on a cheap little recorder, like a cheap recorder that you could buy in an electronics store for like $40, $30. Yep. And I was sitting on the sidewalk in front of the rehearsal hall, and I have the good fortune to activate the recorder and get that recorded. And nobody knew about it for all these years. Like 27, 28 years, nobody knew. Nobody ever heard that thing. And then I decided to make that in the radio sequence because that's the way I want my brother's discography to leave. Just with Ozzy. With Ozzy was incredible, yes, but this is a gem. This is like people going through Mozart's house, and all of a sudden they trip on a floorboard, and they yank the floorboard up, and there's a manuscript for a piece that nobody ever knew he even wrote.
That's what makes it so special to hear this solo, pure genius.
Thank you for telling me that it's special.
Oh, it is very special to me as a Randy Rhoads fan, and I just thank you so much to have released that. When I heard that.
All I can tell you is I sure wish to God that I had more, but I don't. However, the documentary that's coming out, it has a couple of gems in it. It does have footage of him playing with Ozzy that's never been seen before.
That is incredible.
And the footage of the Quiet Riot years, specifically at the Starwood, is crystal clear. It's in pristine condition. First generation copy, that's why.
And you've seen this?
Mm-hmm. I've seen some of it. The film is, let's see, what have I seen of the film so far? Roughly 13 minutes.
Okay.
It's gonna completely blow people's mind. It's really good.
It's about time something happens.
Yes. Well, we had a couple of offers from people. We've had people that wanted to write books or whatever, but they weren't the right people. And not only that, but somebody like Randy, you have to wait a little bit in time before their legacy has a chance to really become apparent. So, somebody does not talk about somebody like Robert Johnson or somebody like Django Reinhardt or somebody like Bird, Charlie Parker, the great sax player. They don't talk about them right after the death and evaluate their point in history. It takes a little while for people to say, whoa, this is where this person belongs.
Right.
He's the high water mark. And a little bit of time usually needs to pass. It's the same way with famous artists. That's why a lot of artists don't get recognized in their own time.
It's like sainthood. It takes time.
Right. Like sainthood. It takes a little while. It takes a little while to evaluate just the merits and the goodness of the person so that they deserve the sainthood.
Now, Kelle, thank you first of all to go on that subject. It was very nice of you. I'd like to go on your career when you were in the 1980s. Now,
all right.
The band called Rhoads. Okay.
The band called Rhoads was the imagination of the person who managed the band, which was called Emerald. They were from Sacramento, and my manager, and he was talking to their manager, and they started comparing notes, and they said, "My God, these people should work together. Kelle should sing in this band." So we had a little trial, and we decided let's give some rehearsals and see what happens. And the band was very, very, very successful. When we got together, we immediately started playing all the clubs in L.A.
Right.
And going up and down California. And then things got even better. We went to Europe. We recorded a record called Into the Future. And it was, I have to say, the most that I ever worked up until now. Now I'm quite busy with the classical music, but in those days, that was a band that I was full-time involved in that band. The drummer was the youngest one, and he went on, when the band finished, he was the drummer in Megadeth for 10 years. His name is Nick
Menza.
He became the drummer for Megadeth after he was in Rhoads. Rhoads were the first band for him. When we got him, he was still in the high school.
Wow.
He was the baby. He was the young one.
Was he good at that time?
Yes, he was.
Wow.
He was really good. Really good. And I had been in some other bands before, Before I was in that, I was in a band called, I started off singing in Grand Theft, and then I went to Street Kids, and after all this was over and Rhoads was finished, I got coaxed back into the singing again in a band that was in Brazil, and I had to move to Brazil, and I was in that band for almost 2 years, and that band was called Eternity. I don't do very much singing anymore, only with the students.
Now, why don't you retake the name Rhoads and do something again with that? Make one final mark.
Up. A few people have asked me to do that, and I'm just a little bit too involved with the classical music and principally writing music for the pianoforte. It's just consumed my life, and it's become such a part of me that I just am very shy to get a metal thing back together and to go back out as a singer. Now, one thing that kind of almost was strange is that on the 19th of March, which you know is the day that my brother passed, we had a big tribute concert at the Whiskey A Go-Go on the Sunset Strip in Hollywood. And we did a couple of Riot songs, and I was on the stage with Kelly Garney, the original bass player from Quiet Riot. And the thing was fantastic. It was a very, very big success. So now we've got some offers, and they are offering that we go and play some places, and I would do a keyboard and get to do the classical, but then I would also have to stand in front of the band and sing a little bit too. I have to say it was a lot of fun, but there's so little time left. I want to really, really make my mark with the classical piano music, and I really feel that that's what I was put here to do. When I was singing in the band Rhoads, it was a great experience, but I felt a little bit like I was kind of like an imposter, like I was really not like an actor, like trying to look like a front man. Well, I looked like a front man, trust me, but I was like, I think you saw the article you sent to Lois about they wrote about me. Well, you see that I look like a front man.
Yeah, for sure.
Good. I was good at it, but I was playing a part. I was like a frustrated actor. Now, nothing is an act. Everything with the piano is 100% real.
Now, what you should do, you obviously know the girl's name, Juliana Tartar, guitarist extraordinaire.
Oh, yes, of course. Oh, yes.
Why don't you team up with her and make some...
We did have a jam session. Did you know that? I think in July we're going to have another one.
Now, isn't that girl great?
She is. She's a very, very talented young lady. That's why she's opening up for Michael Schenker pretty soon.
For sure.
Yeah. I think maybe she's really going to have a career ahead of her. Like she's really going to do something.
Shouldn't Kelle Rhoads help her out in some way in joining?
I am helping her out.
But I mean to join in with her and make a real band to tour and stuff, or am I going too far there?
Well, I just don't know if that's in the cards in the immediate future. I mean, she's going to have to eventually get relocated to the big city.
Right.
She's not going to be able to make her career in San Jose, California. She's going to come to L.A. When she comes down to L.A., it's a very tempting proposition. I would love to perform with her. I would like to mentor her, and I would like to watch that somebody does not take advantage of her and use her.
Right.
This business can be very, very tough, very tough. I'm lucky. I come from a strong family and a family of musicians that supports its sons and stands behind them. But it can be a very lonely place, this big L.A. Coming here, I see a lot of people going back home, and they're very sad and very disillusioned. So they have to say, hey, I cannot stand this anymore. I must go back.
Right.
With Juliana, I think we're not done yet. I think that I will cross her path, and I think I will make some recordings with her, and I think I will eventually definitely be working in some conjunction with her. But she has to find her way. She's a young girl, and she needs a higher caliber of people to play with for her own bands,
right.
And she has to see a little bit of road work. That's what she needs. Also, I'm a little bit tied down here because of my mom. My mom, because of her advanced age, she kind of needs, constant care.
Classical, can it not be mended into metal and rock?
Well, the Norwegians are sure doing a good job of it. Some of the new rock coming from there is definitely like classical.
All these rock and metal people that listen to the music and all that just have to open up their ears, and I am just trying to open up another doorway in the new wave of future metal.
I appreciate that. I think it's good. I wish more people that were affiliated with radio stations and internet radio stations and online situations would push that.
Well,
because I'll tell you why. If they don't, and metal and rock, they're going to be around for a while. But some classical music is already lost to the brand new generations. Be surprised how many young kids that are coming for lessons, going to concerts, going around in Hollywood, they don't know some of the composers.
That's
These
true.
are the people that we can thank because music is the way that it is now. And the young ones, a lot of times they don't even know who the people are. That's sad. Now, I'm not on a conquest to bring classical music back in a big way. My only conquest is to bring my music out. But if that is an unintended consequence, I have no complaints about that.
Kelly, did you ever hear New York's own the great Catherine Thomas, the Great Cat? She's a classical metal performer.
I've heard of her.
If you ever have a chance to check her out, she's a Juilliard graduate with high honors, violinist, and she combines metal, and she plays Vivaldi, Beethoven, and all those classical pieces.
She sounds like somebody I would be quite interested in.
Well, she is very original and very, very interesting. So now you see my connection with Kelle Rhoads music.
Trust me, I'll take all the help I can get. I really appreciate that. I appreciate it because there's only one way that somebody that makes music can get out there and have his music known, and that's on a one-to-one basis. Somebody hears it, and they like it, and they tell someone else. And that person tells someone else, and that person tells someone else. I saw that happen to my little brother. He went from a guitar player that had like a close circle of friends to being the star of Hollywood to conquering the entire world. And the way it happens is somebody talks about him to someone else. So along those lines, I would truly appreciate anything that you could do.
And you are very interesting with your pieces that I've listened to, and I did take time to listen to them. And
I do so appreciate that. I'm prepared to offer you a bonus today, something that you didn't even expect. I'm experimenting with the very brief, very quick, very nice style of music that Frédéric Chopin used a lot. And this kind of little thing is called an impromptu. An impromptu is a very, very short little piece of piano music that is like a little song within the song. And I'm prepared to share one with you right now at this time. Are you ready?
Go for it.
The piece of music that you just heard, which was played live over the radio, is called Impromptu in G-flat major.
Wow. Bravo for a nice piece of music. That was very lovely. Very, very great.
It will appear on my next CD that will be called Pride and Profanity.
And we got that live on the radio.
you got that live. I played it live right now.
Well, thank you very much. Going back to the day that they released the Marshall stack for Randy Rhoads, the double stack, were you around?
Yes. I was very around. It was decided between the Rhoads family and the Marshall family that there would be one engineer. This was so that we would not have a chaos and a lot of people coming around knowing that we were going to take these things out of their cabinets.
Right.
For the first time in a quarter century. So it was decided between James Marshall and my mother, Dolores Rhoads, that it would be one engineer from Marshall and me. And that was it. And we would have a certain designated area where he could take a look at the amp. Something very, very, very interesting and very beautiful happened on that day. First of all, this was the first time in 25 years that the amp and the cabinets and everything like that was coming out of the cases. So you have a excavation, if you will, of this equipment. And when we pick up the head, when we pick up the Marshall head, which he had modified, which is what everybody buys when they buy the product, they buy the same head that he had modified, the exact same specs.
Right.
When I pick it up, a piece of paper fell that was on the bottom of the head, and it was like the duct tape had some tape that was turning like jelly because it was disintegrating. The tape was turning liquidy because it was emulsifying with all the years. And the paper broke loose and fell on the floor. Was a handwritten set list by my brother for the next show in Orlando, which he unfortunately didn't get to go to.
Wow. Where is that paper now?
It's back. I wanted to put it back right under the head where it was when we found it. So we used the head and the cabinets and used it in the film, the documentary, for Randy. And when that was finished, when the Dakota Film Company filmed this, they gave me everything back in the cabinet, and I take the head and put the paper back and put the head on top of the paper like it was, because I think that's the way that Randy will feel most comfortable. All his things the way that he leaves them, like just the way it was the last time he saw it.
Now, another question. Going from today to 100 years from now, where will Randy Rhoads' equipment be?
Well, that's a real good question, especially in the light that I don't have any children. So, as a matter of fact, I would find that real hard to answer right now. I would like to think that my sister's children will have children. I can tell you that as long as Mrs. Rhoads is living, as long as I'm living, and as long as his sister Kathy is living, that all of these things, the guitars, the equipment, and we own all of it, by the way, and we have all of it, will never, ever be for sale or for lease or for anything except, with the exception of the polka dot guitar, it's in the Cleveland Rock Hall of Fame for 2 years, along with an outfit from Quiet Riot, the clothes, the polka dots, and the velvet pants. But this is a loan. They will not have the polka dot guitar indefinitely. They will have it just for 2 years.
Information, not your name.
the equipment be in 100 years? It will be very, very hard to say right now because I really don't know. I really don't know. I can't say. But I can tell you where my brother's legacy will be in 100 years. He certainly will be looked at like they look at Chopin or Liszt for the piano. Him and Eddie Van Halen they'll be the guys. Mm-hmm. Those two will be the guys that were from the same era, from the same location, and who completely changed the way that the people play guitar. Certainly that's going to be their legacy. And Randy's legacy grows every day. It's amazing. Amazing. I wish I could share everything with you, but I can't because we have some things in the planning stages, and it would not be appropriate to discuss it before contracts are signed.
Right.
But you are going to be absolutely amazed at the recognition and the praise and the attention that he's going to be getting, especially since this documentary is coming out.
Do you have currently Randy Rhoads guitars?
We have them all.
Okay.
We own all of them.
Okay.
Every single one of them. And if anybody says, well, I got a guitar that was made for Randy, but he never picked it up, it's not true. We have everything. And we have all the amps. And we have the infamous pedal board. The family owns it.
Now, this is in vaults?
Yes. As a matter of fact, it is.
Good. The reason I asked the question of 100 years, I do work at a university and my day job, and I am a historian also, and work in archives, and I just look at stuff in 100 years from now. Where shall they be? And
I really couldn't answer that
you have to look at that question.
I'll tell you what. It will be something that I'm sure that my sister and I set up so that it would be people would be able to see it like in a museum.
Right.
You know, I can't say who we would trust with it or donate it to, but I can say that there are two. The whole thing is while everybody, the sister, the brother, the mom, while we're all alive, everything is under our control, and we have it exactly as we want it. I have no children, so who knows what's going to happen? I don't know. Mm-hmm. One would hope that my sister's children's children make the decision to keep everything intact and in the similar condition that we have now. That stuff is all in vaults, and the guitars is in a separate place than the amps. So
okay.
Nothing is all together at one time.
Which is a good idea.
A good idea.
Now, a question on your genealogy. Were your grandparents musicians?
The music goes back in my family quite a ways. My mom's great-grandfather was playing in a brass symphonic band, like a band with a lot of horns. And on up, my mom's mom's sister played piano. My mom's father played guitar, and my mom's mom played mandolin. It goes back quite a ways. It's been in the family for quite some time. The musical legacy.
How far back can you go in genealogy?
I'd say that we could trace musicians in our family back 150 years.
150 years.
Now, not every single person was a musician, but a lot of them were. And at times, everybody was, like at certain periods.
Right. And where can you bring it back to? Only in the United States?
We are actually British
and
Irish, and we have people on both sides. My father's side of the family and my mom's side of the family that long ago settled in the state of Illinois. And the Illinois was where the big, huge Kelle farm was. Now, I'm the last of the Kelles. My mom, and then me, and that's it. That's where the Kelle line dies. That was my mom's maiden name.
Okay.
Hence, my first name is Kelle.
And
it is pronounced Kelle, not Kelly, but a lot of people call me Kelly, so I don't get upset. That's okay. So, my father, his people, they were some musicians too. But since my mom and my father broke the marriage and separated and got divorced when I was very, very, very young, I do not know as much about my father's side of the family as I do about my mother's side, because of course I heard a lot more from my mom. But her ancestry with musicians can be traced back about 150 years. And I know that it shows up in my dad's too. My dad played clarinet, and he actually, even when he got married again later on, he married somebody that was in music too. So there's been so many people that were musicians in our past, in our ancestry.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty incredible, really.
That is an incredible story. And all this created one of the most powerful families in music, the Rhoads of today.
Well, just look at the place where you're talking to right now. You called at the Conservatory of Music, which is called Musonia School of Music, and it's been in continuous existence and under the ownership of the Rhoads family for 61 years. When my mom started this place, which she designed and which she envisioned, and she invented the name, and she was 28 years old when they opened the doors. And now she's still associated, still comes to work, still teaches, and she makes 89 years. She had her birthday a week ago Monday.
Wow.
So when people come here, they're quite. We got people all the time that come here from all over the world. I don't think anybody has come here from Nova Scotia, but I know we had some people from Greenland, and we've had people from all over New York, upstate New York, Delaware, back in the East Coast, and from different countries. People come to see the school all the time. We had a whole bunch of visitors yesterday, actually.
A tour bus.
Not quite that many at one time, but I don't know. Maybe after the documentary comes out, we're gonna we're gonna have to make some arrangements so that we don't have that. But we do have quite a few people coming through.
Well, that's good. And this is what will keep the legacy of the Musonia institution and Randy Rhoads.
Yes.
Also, which is great.
That's right. They have actually a place to come and see. When they come here, they can see the room that he learned how to play guitar in. They can see the big, huge room that my mom built for the recitals and for the bands and orchestras and ensembles. And that's where we make our first Violet Fox shows, him playing guitar and me playing drums. And there's so much history right here. Actually, Zach Wilde, the guitar player in Aussie, he calls this place Mecca. He said for musicians, especially people that play hard rock, heavy metal, he goes, actually what Musonia is Mecca.
The beginning.
It's the beginning.
Wow. Going to a Violet Fox there, is there any real material that exists of this, or is it?
No.
No. Okay.
I'm glad you asked me that question, because it is a very common misconception. We were just two teenage brothers playing a lot of cover tunes, and we never ever did make any original recordings.
Okay.
I've seen a couple of cases where they sell on the internet or on eBay, and it's a fraud. They're fake. We had no recorded material in that band.
Not even covers.
Not even covers. We just were starting, and back in those days, it was a little bit, you had to really make some preparations to get decent equipment set up to record yourself. It's not like now. Back then it was, big machines, and everything was kind of cumbersome and very heavy, and we just never got to that stage.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the first thing that my brother ever recorded for Quiet Riot actually did turn out to be a song that we wrote together, and that song's called Back to the Coast. It was originally called West Coast Tryouts, but Kevin changed the name once they started doing the song, and that was a song, the only song that I wrote with my brother. Now, Violet Fox did do that song, but it was never recorded in Violet Fox. It was recorded in the Quiet Riot.
Did you write any other songs for Quiet Riot, or is that it?
No, I only wrote the lyrics to that. I did not write any other songs for Quiet Riot. And usually in the band Rhoads, and also in the other record that I put out in the 80s, Kelle Rhoads, I wrote some of the lyrics, but never the music.
Okay.
except for Back to the Coast. And I have Back to the Coast on my one of those records too. And in that version, the original bass player from Quiet Riot, Kelly Garney, plays on it.
What you plan in 2009, 2010?
What I plan to do is I plan to come out with the finished record, Pride and Profanity. I have great plans to try to get it all over the world in, the places left that still sell CDs, about you guys, but we don't have too many of them left here. Kind of scary, actually. But I plan to do that, and then I plan to promote the record by playing live and touring, and then I also plan to assist, as I have been doing, and be there for the premiere and the coming out of the Randy Rhoads documentary, which, by the way, is the working title right now. It could change, but the title that we have so far is Randy Rhoads, The Long Train Home. The entire complete story of Randy Rhoads. And you can imagine what a task we have, because we have 720 hours of film.
Yeah.
And it's going to have to be cut down to 2 hours or less. So I'm going to be very busy with that, as I have been. And some of my classical music will be in the film. You will hear it.
Great.
But I'm going to plan very, very much to keep working and writing songs and having an inspiration to come up with material, principally for the classic piano. That's my main thing. And keep loving my wife. I'm blessed. I have a really, really beautiful, nice wife.
And she's always been supportive.
So far.
Well, that's good.
She can take or leave the music industry, but she's supportive of me as a composer. She thinks that I'm doing what I should be doing. So, I'm going to continue the school, continue making classical music, and continue loving my wife, and just try to realize and enjoy my little small place in the universe.
That's great stuff. Kelle Rhoads, everybody.